This is joint variation. The word joint is used when you have more than one type of variation, such as the Joint Chiefs of Staff are more than one Chief of Staff in command. Y varies. We're going to have Y equals K again. Jointly with X and W. It's assumed to be direct variation unless we're told otherwise. And inversely with Z, which tells us to put the Z in the denominator. Y then is 4 when X is 3, so we have K times 3 times 8, times 12. We reverse the order there when Z is the 8 and W is the 12. Watch carefully for the order. That says Y equals. Now I'm going to reduce the 12 and the 8. Both are divisible by 4, giving me a 2 and a 3. So I have 3 times 3. I have 9k over 2. Multiplying each side by 2, I have 8 equals 9k. And dividing by 9, I can say that k is equal to 8/9. Now I'm going to rewrite my general equation. Y equals 8/9 xw over z. And I'm going to do a little trick here. I'm going to move that 9 down to the denominator. Rewrite that as 8xw over 9z. Basically what we're doing, if you were to have written this as times 8/9 instead, notice how the 9 would go down in the denominator? That tells us we can just move that 9 down there with a z as I did. Now let's substitute the numbers in. I'm going to have find y when, okay, let's be careful with the order this time, when x is 6, z is 10, and w is 8. Okay, let's do some reducing before we multiply. Let me move that up so you can see what I'm doing here. The 9 and the 6 are each divisible by 3, giving us 2 and 3. I'm going to also cancel the 8/10 and turn that into a 4/5. So multiplying what is left, 8 times 2 times 4. That's 8 times 8 is 64. And down below, 3 times 5 is 15. A little bit messy, but we're not going to let that scare us. We're going to use math power, so to speak. Here we go with the next one. I varies inversely with the square of d. I varies, that's the equals k. Inversely gives us the fraction. The square of d gives us the d squared. I is 30 when d is 4. So we've got 4 squared. 30 equals k over 16. Multiplying each side by 16 gives us 480. Rewriting this, general formula, we've got I equals 480 over d squared. Substituting in d is 6, we now have 6 squared. 480 over 6 squared. That becomes 480 over 36. I notice that each are divisible. Let's start with 4. That'll give us a 120 over 9. Let's divide each by 3 now to get a 40 and a 3. And it looks like 40/3 is going to be our answer because we can't reduce any further on that one. In this next one, they didn't identify the variables. We're going to have to kind of focus in on that ourselves. The number of turkeys needed for Thanksgiving dinner is directly, they gave us that, proportional to the number of guests. I'm going to use G for guests and T for turkeys, although I could have used N for number. T for turkeys, directly proportional to the number of guests. If a cook knows that 3 turkeys, substitute 3 for T, will feed 42 guests, There we go, 42 goes in for G. We can divide both sides by 42 and get 3/42, which reduces to 1/14. That equals our K. Now let's write our general equation here. We get 1/14 the number of guests. So if we're trying to solve for T, the number of turkeys, we'll substitute in 70 for the number of guests, divide that by 14, and find out that 5 turkeys is the number of turkeys needed to feed the 70 guests.